Well, it's Andrew Eborn here again for another thrilling edition of the Andrew Eborn Show. Grr, those lines, prepare yourself. It's in the roller coaster.
Oh my!
As they say, buckle up, buttercup.
Well, yeah, that applies to this, I must say.
Well, as you told us, tell us the background to this, because we're back again with Dorothy Parker, and she had such a wicked sense of humour. We love the sense of humour of Dorothy.
Yes, but she's talking about certain kind of sexual things that happened that she did.
And she was, of her time, it was quite shocking then. I mean, it's a bit shocking now, isn't it?
I don't know. No, but this was a time when there's much more freedom in everything, really.
I mean, there was more freedom then than there is now.
And sexually, people were much able to talk about things, because then the Hayes office came in and put a stop to all the fun, as you know.
All the fun, but we can talk about things now, can't we? Don't you think people are talking about things more?
No, yes, no, I'm talking about the Hayes office, which is in 1938, I think.
Oh yes. I think that was a little.
So it was before that people were much freer in what they talked about.
But it is extraordinary, and we have Russell T Davies and that brilliant series on at the moment called "It's a Sin," talking about the 80s and growing up in the
yes, indeed,
of the AIDS. And terrible sort of situation, and the prejudice that existed there, and Russell T Davies was amazing writer.
Yes, it was amazing, because my friends, Joe, my son, was in San Francisco, and his girlfriend, he was engaged to this girl, and her brother died of AIDS, and that everybody sort of just went mad. The whole family just fell apart. And he came back to London. And that was the end of that. But he's now with her on Facebook. They can talk on Facebook. But it was a long time ago, and as you know, the 80s. But I remember Tim McManus, whose boyfriend had it, and we were in a show or something, and he was having a drink. And I'd picked up his glass, and she said, he said, "Don't drink from my glass." I said, "Why?"
And people became more.
He died. Jim's boyfriend died, but he was very sexually active. He had girls as well. He was quite a dangerous person. Terry, yes, I shouldn't say that really, because they will listen. But
Terry is no longer with us.
Yes. He died. Yes, he died.
It was a tragic time, and it's sort of looking back. We always say that history repeats itself, but people need to learn the lessons of history. And a couple of things that come out of that is, one, the sort of prejudice that existed back then, and we hope that people.
Extraordinary, yes, I know.
There's still prejudice, and we still need to call that out. We can't brush it under the carpet. But also, it was how people were coming out to the parents, because you saw the reaction of some of the characters, and for those who haven't seen the series, go and check that out. It's a fantastic series by Russell T Davies. But it's also the reaction of the parents, and people can watch it because they see the effects it has on their children. The devastating effects is that ripple effect, isn't it? It's not just the people involved, it's their friends, and it's that wider aspect, and the embarrassment of society, and people are sometimes more worried about what people think than they care about for their
actual. Yes, I know. This is what is so awful. And also I realized that, in my case, when I have this problem, which is still there, nothing's happened about that, about this guy that I was unkind to, who was gay, and I just realized that it must have been worse for him, because he's probably had people being nasty to him in the past. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think everybody.
But that's why he got so upset.
Everybody deserves respect, and I think I long for the time. We must never forget the prejudice that anybody's experienced.
I know.
We
I
need
know.
to make sure it doesn't happen. People learn those lessons. But I do long for the time where we can just celebrate diversity. We can embrace that sort of stuff, make everybody
I
feel
think we should, yes. I think we should.
don't judge, you know, let people.
I'm wrong, you see, because my theory is that everybody's exactly the same. Now, that is meaning that everybody sexually is the same. I mean, you could be bisexual. It doesn't matter what you are that way, you know, not important. But what I didn't realize that how people had suffered from it. Do you know what I mean? In the past. I didn't know that. I mean, I just thought, you know, all right, so they like boys, you know, so that, you know, it doesn't matter, you know. I didn't realize that it was a heartbreaking thing for them to have to come out and say they were like. I just accepted it.
What you have in the showbiz profession, you probably have the biggest diversity of people. It always has. That's the nature. That's the nature of the business, isn't it? Everybody from every possible, and attitudes have changed. There used to be a lot of sexism, and you spoke about this beforehand, growing up as a female in the profession, and how there was that casting couch, and we spoke about that last time. But there's a massive prejudice, and it worked both ways. The casting couch worked for men as it did for women, didn't it?
Oh yeah, yeah. It is extraordinary. But I mean, I think, you know, being with these people all the time, I don't even think about it, you know.
But that you shouldn't. I mean, that's the whole thing. It shouldn't. It's totally irrelevant.
It shouldn't be. It's the same.
They want to share it. Let them share it. If they don't want to share it, let them just do it. It just people are allowed to be, or should be allowed to be, themselves. We mustn't. We've got to get away from being judgmental. And what it is, Aline, is that people turn around and they are scared of difference. That's the reality. So much prejudice comes from people being different. And I think what we should do is embrace difference in that sort of way, and actually encourage it, because otherwise we all become Mr. and Mrs. Cellophane. I mean, you've got to work on that sort of basis.
Yes, I know. You've got to talk. You've got, as you say, you've got to talk. And as I say, you know, about Miriam, did we talk about Miriam at some point?
We did. We're going to get her on the show. Absolutely.
Yes, we talked about her. You mean, or you did have Miriam?
We did. Yeah. We did talk about it. You can talk about her again. I'm sure she'd love it. The only thing worse than being talked about is not being talked about.
Not being talked about, yeah. I don't know. I don't quite like being talked about, but never mind all that. You have to put up with it sometimes. So, shall I read this?
Yeah, well, tell us, finish your Miriam story, though. Give us a Miriam story, and then we'll go into the poem.
Oh, I can't do Miriam stuff, darling. Oh, come on.
We'll get her on the show because she's a glorious character. Tell us what.
Yes, she would do it.
How did you meet her? How do you know her?
Oh, I first met her. She was so funny. She'd arrived on the BBC Rep. Now, it was a very strange thing at the BBC because we were different people. We Dales, you see. We had our own studio at the top of the building. And the rep people used to come and be odd people in them. So it was a very strange thing. And often the odd people that came in were not sort of terribly friendly, you know, because they thought we were ourselves, you know. I don't think we were, but we might have been, you know, who knows. Somebody once attacked me in an Indian restaurant, saying, what do you think you are, just because you've got Studio 8 all to yourself, you know, that side of thing. But it was it was somebody who I'd met in the street and said, oh, hello, how are you? You know, I mean, knew him. And he said, I'm just going to the whatever it was, the shag bag or something. So I said, oh, well, I was on my way there too. So we went together and we were sitting there, happily sitting there. And he had a pint of lager. And then I suddenly realized what was happening. He was perfectly friendly. And then just one sip more and became this monster because he was alcoholic. And I didn't know that until afterwards, you know. Because I mean, you know, I was just an ordinary sort of actor person, you know, I never thought anything. I'd seen him around a bit, you know, and it was nice to have a chat. But in fact, it became very aggressive and red. because I was in the Dales, you know, and I was sort of, it was very odd that. Anyway, I think he went. I think he walked out in the end because the waiter was getting very upset. You know, the waiter was trying to stop him shouting.
And
So
Miriam,
I didn't know much about
and Miriam was there.
what?
Is that how you met Miriam?
No. Sorry. No, Miriam. No, I'm just talking about the rep. So anyway, Miriam arrived as somebody from the rep. And she sat there with her legs wide apart and long bloomers, you know, direct wear knickers, showing all her direct wear knickers out. This is a strange person. But it didn't, you know, I just thought she was a little strange. She was, you know, being terribly sort of showing off, you know, in some way, really. So that was when I first met her. I thought she was a bit crazy. And then we got sort of friends. I can't remember. We had a strange incident in Jerry's club when she had gathered a whole lot of Jewish actors who had no money to go and have lunch, and she was going to buy them lunch. And they were very cross, and they wouldn't cook the things that she wanted them to cook because they had to have special things. So I remember that very well. Yes, I remember more of that. But anyway, that was a strange thing because I'm not Jewish, you see, but I just happened to be invited. I don't know why. Maybe she thought I was Jewish, but I know her family very well. I know her cousin, who, of course, has Auntie's Bloomers. That is a shop that sells flowers. Yes. So I know her, Gail. And another cousin was Pat Levinson, but they didn't talk. They didn't, you know, they were not friendly. So it's just a sort of, you know, general thing. And she's around, you know, I just kept seeing her. So I never we were always very friendly, but that's, you know, didn't. But I see her on Graham Norton's show, and she makes me laugh a lot because she says things that nobody else would ever say on television. And I like that. I like it very much. I mean, there's a wonderful story about the young man who was up a tree, masturbating up a tree. You know that one?
No, tell me.
So she said, oh, well, I'll tell you very quickly. She was walking down the street, and he was in a park or something, and there was a young man up a tree, and she saw that he was masturbating and not doing very well, so she helped him out. That's the story. And she did that on Graham Norton. But obviously, it's a much longer story. That's just crazy of it.
Thank you. That's always a joy. Well, we look at a wonderful character, and then she did Harry Potter as well, didn't she? She was involved with that whole sort of stuff. And a brilliant talent.
I should think she would have been. Yes. No, she's everywhere. She's just everywhere. Yeah. But I mean, it's because she makes people laugh, and people like that, you know. She's got a sweet face. I mean, sweet little face she's got, you know, coming up with all these terrible things she did, that she does.
Well, I always think,
why shouldn't I like to help people out? You know, I like to be kind to people.
I think it's also that juxtaposition, isn't it? It's the juxtaposition of when somebody looks, if you have somebody who looks really innocent and they come up with something really shocking, or you have it in the same way they did in A Clockwork Orange or in The Singing Detective, you would have the most violent scenes, but it's accompanied by the most beautiful classical music. It plays with your senses, and it's really powerful.
Yeah. Oh dear.
It's the shock value. Anyway, we promised them last time, and this particular.
Yes, I know, and you're having me telling Margulies stories.
No, we love Miriam Margulies. I mean, fantastic. But we said to them last time, this particular version will carry a shock horror warning thing. This is adult content only. Well, I think most of your stuff gets. What do they say on the platforms? There's always a warning, isn't there, for your content? I love it.
Warning. Yes, it's a warning.
It is a warning. But this particular warning one.
I'm going to tell you this. She's getting. She's getting turned on by this.
Hey, what's that? Sorry?
I say she's getting turned on in this.
Oh, is that? I'm sorry. Okay, well, I will let you do
Yes.
Portrait of the Artist by Dorothy Parker.
And what, by Portrait of an Artist? Yeah, an artist, the artist.
Portrait of the Artist by Dorothy
Do you want me
Parker.
to start? Do you want me to start?
No, you can
Or
finish.
are you going to just go on saying it over and over again? Portrait of the Artist by Dorothy Parker. Oh dear.
Are you going to start then? Here we go.
Gosh.
I'll introduce you again. You want a big build-up, don't you? You want a big build-up for your big...
This is the Portrait of the Artist by... You'll probably be disappointed now because I've got you all round up now. Anyway, I'm going now. I'm doing it now. Okay. Oh, lead me to a quiet cell where never footfall rankles, and bar the window passing well, and gyve my wrists and ankles. Oh, wrap my eyes with linen fair, with hempen cord go bind me, and of your mercy leave me there, nor tell them where to find me. Oh, lock the portal as you go, and see its bolts be double. Come back in half an hour or so, and I will be in trouble. Oh dear. It is funny. It is funny though.
Always a joy. Aline, thank you so much for being my guest, and for all of those, you can now take your fingers out of your ears. And those...
Yes, all right. And gyve my wrists and ankles. I like that. Leave me there and tell them where to find me. But come back in half an hour.
Come back in half an hour. Well, do come back. Do join us again next time for more equally shocking revelations.
Oh, yes, I have to find. Yes, all right, all right.
Nice to see you. Thank you very much for joining us.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. So, thank you very much for joining us, and for Aline Waites for being my very special guest and introducing us to the wonderful world of Dorothy Parker Scandal. We love it. If you would like to be a guest, you can write to me at guests@octopustv.com. That's guests@octopustv.com. Don't forget, you can follow and share and do all sorts of things. Subscribe at Andrew Eborn at Octopus TV on all of the usual and a few unusual platforms as well. In the meantime, thanks very much for joining me. I look forward to seeing you next time. Be good.